All right, so speaking of billionaires and entrepreneurship, Andrew Yang, former entrepreneur, is running for New York City mayor. What do you think? Do you think he'll be a good mayor? He's been in New York his whole life, been an entrepreneur his whole life, tried to be a president. That shit failed. Got a lot of people interested into him, though. That UBI was really popular.
Man, he for a good 2 weeks, he was the most popular political candidate in the world, actually.
Andrew Yang, he was one of the most popular candidates before. So he recently came out with this thing, and he was like, look, I need to go to my New Jersey home because I can't stay in my New York City apartment for 2 bedrooms because I have 2 little kids trying to learn Zoom classes online. And he was basically like, there's not enough space for me. And NY Times, New York Times, they published a hit piece on him basically saying he cannot be the mayor of New York City because he can't relate to the average Joe struggling, living in a shoebox in New York City who has to do a bunch of things, much less deal with their kids.
Because there's no space in New York, he can't be the mayor of New York?
For someone who's lived in New York his whole life, knows the culture, knows the vibes, because he's complaining about the thing that everyone's complaining about, that's why he can't be the mayor. That's a stupid reason. Also, his kids, one of his kids is autistic, so that requires more special needs in dealing with your kids.
What kind of stupid justification is that? I could think of a million reasons why he shouldn't be mayor before that.
Right. But complaining about...
I can't. He actually might make a good mayor.
Complaining about the space in New York is a problem with New York that maybe he could fix by having more real estate projects or something like that. But to say he can't relate to, Andrew Cuomo can relate to people?
They say,
or Bill de Blasio or whatever?
They say he can't. They say you're not a real New Yorker because you complain about New York being shitty. It's like everybody in New York complains about New York being shitty. Everybody complains about the subways. Everybody complains about rent. Everybody complains about having to live in a shoebox. It's weird that you're because he had an alternative to living in the shoebox, he's no longer fit to run New York.
That's weird.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But if you just the problem with that is if you want to be I don't want somebody that's rich and could move to their vacation home in Jersey. If you're I don't want that person running New York, it's sweetheart, you already have that.
Every politician is pretty much loaded in these areas. Unless you're in a very local municipality. If you're in the mayor of New York or Los Angeles, you are loaded.
Right.
You've got money.
There's a reason why Bernie comes off as special to people. Because he is a politician that takes the bus.
All right.
And
even he's loaded. He made $2 million off his fucking book the other year.
Right.
So yeah, I think that was ridiculous. I guess here's my question. How do you think Andrew would philosophically change New York? Because if he implemented a UBI, I think a good portion of the New York community would want that. Because not every New Yorker is rich. They're struggling. And an extra $1,000 a month would help pay rent. But a lot of New York City is built off this idea that you got to get it on your own and you shouldn't want a handout. You come here to the city that never sleeps so that you never sleep so that you go build it yourself. Do you think that would be a culture clash if he tried to implement a UBI?
Sure, but that's dumb. That's a dumb reason.
Who do you think would win? Do you think there's enough rich New Yorkers that wouldn't allow that to happen because obviously their taxes would have to go up to sustain that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely going to try to block it. I think it's a question of whether or not New Yorkers I think
the reason I asked real quick is because AOC got into the House, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can build a Democratic coalition grassroots and get working class struggles represented.
Absolutely.
So Andrew has the potential to do that for the Bronx and Brooklyn and all that stuff.
But remember that was also the AOC election was also highly symbolic. I think that he gets there's no way he gets the same amount of populist support that the AOC got because AOC made the struggling New Yorker her brand. Right? I do think in that regard, these people that are complaining about Yang they have a point in that regard that the struggling New Yorker cannot be Yang's brand.
Right.
And a lot of people could attempt to spin Yang as embracing a kind of savior for the masses type with
the UBI proposal?
Yeah, which could come off as being really condescending to New Yorkers. Again, I think that that's a stupid reason not to elect somebody with a clearly good policy for you that would help you pay rent. I think that's probably a dumb reason for that. But I mean, it is one that technically exists, and representation and the way that people look at their politicians versus what their politicians actually do matters significantly, at least when running a race.
Because no one likes Bill de Blasio or no one people don't like the mayors of these high cities because they all think they never do the right job. But if Andrew actually gets in and actually implements a more social democratic policy.
You know how hard it must be to be the mayor of New York, though?
That's wild. That's wild. That's a lot.
It's got to be It's got to be one of the worst jobs ever.
Because New York, and particularly New York City, is... Wait, he's running for mayor of New York? Or mayor
NYC.
Of New York City?
Well, the city name is New York.
Yeah,
It's New York.
So
New York.
Andrew Cuomo is the governor of New York.
Yeah.
Of the whole
Governor,
state.
yeah.
Okay. Because, New York City, the amount of billions of dollars that are there is insane. And I think Andrew's
billions.
Andrew's main platform is that people are leaving, right? And he wants people to not leave. Because a lot of people are leaving New York, and they're taking their money and their taxes with them. And the reason you stay and you pay the tax is because there's a magical element to New York City. If that disintegrates, New York is nothing at that point. Just like we're seeing LA is starting to disintegrate, or California in and of itself.
Yeah. I think it's a little. Again, I think that he could do some real good for New York, and he could do something to turn New York around, depending on some of the policies that he decides to incorporate. The other thing, though, that's interesting is, like, again, we're just getting into this conversation. He's got to do a lot more than have a flagship policy.
Yeah.
There's got to be an entire agenda.
Because if he could really redo the subway system and be like, I will change this, like politicians have been practicing for years, that could be a platform. Because people hate that shit. If he could really solve homelessness, if he could really institute better educational policies in like a lot of the failing districts that turn into charter schools.
You know my favorite New York story during COVID?
What?
Remember when the subways got cleaned?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the wildest thing to me, because everybody was just like a headline came out that was like, New York subways cleaned for the first time in 125 years. I was like,
because they had to.
I was like, what? I literally looked at I refreshed the headline. I thought it said 1.2. I thought it was 1.25. 1.25 years. I thought somebody made a typo. It's like 125 years. Apparently they don't actually clean it. And now, because of a global pandemic, they finally decided that they had to clean every single subway. And I'm like, aside from the fact the subway is often late, dysfunctional, etc., we should really clean it.
Yeah. Like, millions of people use it every single day. And imagine before post-COVID, like, just all those people being there. And,
like, you realize that means that, like, COVID might not be the most disastrous disease you could get on the New York subway.
Have you ever been on the subway with, like, a weird story or something that's happened? You saw, like, a dancer in the...
Yeah. I've been on a subway where a dance crew came in. Actually,
yeah,
it's a pretty magical experience. I'm not going to lie.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
I've also been on the subway for a fight. I saw a dude get pushed out of the subway. And I'm talking about I'm talking about top of the hoodie, top of the tech, grabbed. Well, not hoodie, but like the tech sweater. I got top of the tech, the pants grabbed and literally shoved out as the doors closed. Doors closing.
That reminds me of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Jazz always gets thrown out.
Yep.
Wait, why was he throwing him out? You didn't like him? Or?
I guess they were in a fight for space or something. And homie just like, here's the thing. They didn't have space to be next to each other, but homie had space to swing his body out of the subway and wave goodbye.
That's wild.
Easily the wildest thing I've ever seen on a subway. But the dance crews, whenever you see something like that happen, like, yo, you genuinely want to give money. I also saw not in the actual car, but like outside, I saw like this. I actually have a video of it. It was me and two of my friends, Brianna and Shaniza.
Yeah.
And there was like this dude, like giant dude, singing, like he was doing like opera singing, like in the subway. Dude. Incredible.
There's people preaching in the subway as well.
Bro, the New York subway.
It's a melting pot of America.
Will that come back though? Like, do you think that that's still going on, or do you think that that's
unless Andrew
over?
passes that 2,000
month,
bro.
Motherfuckers but no. I mean, if and when, and that is a strong if, COVID is over, I feel like people are genuinely gonna want, like, we'll do anything to get back to what things were before, to the good old days. So honestly, if I walk in a subway and there's some dude that's doing some cool ass dance, I'll pay him, absolutely, because you know what, I want to feel like it's 2017 again.
Right.
So I genuinely think they'll be able to get back. Here's the thing. Damn, the subways. It's like a hotbed for talent. Like, every once in a while you see somebody that's like, why are you here? But like, some of the most talented people that never get recognized pull up on the subway every single day.
But that's the thing. New York City is the home for talent. And I feel like maybe that's what he is trying to get back. He's trying to revive that feeling. I saw an article where the
Empire State of Mind.
Yeah, where he is hoping for TikTok creators to come to New York City so that there can be more content and there can be more of that cultural
He wants
shift.
the creators to post more about New York?
Yeah, or I don't know if it's post more,
or is that part of his marketing campaign?
Part of his marketing campaign is to bring those TikTok creators into New York City.
Like hype houses?
Yeah, exactly.
This is why I like Andrew, because he fucks with the culture, bro. The culture right now is TikTokers like spreading their messages through these fun viral clips. If you get that on your candidacy, you get, even though people on TikTok can't vote for him, he will get buzz. Charlie D'Amelio can't vote for him.
Yeah. But their parents can, right? So like,
they don't. Well, most of those creators don't live in New York right now, as he said, so they can't vote for a New York mayor or an NYC.
All of those creators live in LA, bro. All
Yeah,
those houses are in LA.
So they can't pay any.
Because it's cold in New York. Like,
but that's the way culture transcends just the geographical boundary. If the national culture is around these people, it's like, yo, imagine if because of Andrew Yang you could pull up and there was a like that change. You know, one of the things that people loved about LA, like everybody loved doing celebrity sightings in LA.
Yes.
I remember when we went to LA, I remember being like, yo, I swear I am going to run into Robert De Niro here. I'm going to run into Robert Downey Jr. here. I was like, I'm going to find somebody famous in LA and I'm going to run into them. Up till then, my biggest like celebrity run-in was you and I once saw Kawhi.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did. Oh wait, no, sorry, it was Devon. It was me and Devon. Me and Devon once we once saw Kawhi Leonard in an airport. Damn, that he is tall. That man is tall. And then the one that I actually got a chance to like physically be next to was G Herbo. And
I saw Offset at the
Offset.
Yeah, we were coming back from a tournament in Texas, 2017, and we saw him, and all of us knew it was him. And I think I kind of went up to him, and I think I asked for a photo. It was so long ago, and I think he just left. But I don't even remember. I just know it was Offset.
Do you remember when the Miami Heat were in your hotel?
No, it wasn't the Miami Heat. It was the Orlando Magic.
Oh, the Orlando Magic. Yeah,
we stayed at a hotel for a debate tournament, and we were in some bougie hotel for some reason because the school could afford it. I don't know how the school afforded it, but the Orlando Magic was in our hotel. And
that's awesome, right? And imagine if you could bring that same vibe to New York.
New York, yeah.
And you could see a random TikTok celebrity just roaming the streets.
I'd vote for Andrew. He seems authentic. I don't know his policies, but he seems like he knows what he wants to do. He wants to build shit. He's been building companies, building nonprofits. I think he might do some good shit.
Said, I'm Asian. I like math.
What is it? Make America Think Harder. That's a good ass fucking.